So, a few weeks ago, we discussed one sutta from Suttanipata. The name is Dvayatānupassanā Sutta. So, it was about Nibbāna, it was about disenchantment, losing interest and detachment. So, I would like to continue this sutta today. And I want to remind you that in that sutta, Buddha says that who practice or reflect on such topics, he can become an arahant, so completely enlightenment, or anagami, so someone who never return here again. So, and these three topics what we discussed today, they are, all this sutta quite, I would say, advanced, but this I think require really stable mind, when your mind is focused, present, and at least free from hindrances temporary. So you, by some samatha practice, by some or maybe awareness or whatever, you develop some stability of the mind where you can reflect and see things as they are, at least try. So, and then again, all these things, it's good to remind ourselves, because it's quite high standard. All of them speak about arahant stage, like really very high standard. But for us, it's good to at least see the direction where Dhamma go, where we move. And one thing we can know that maybe we don't like this direction, maybe this direction is not for me, or at least we can just keep our determination and aspiration towards practice, towards the goal. So here the Buddha speak about I will read. Yankinchi dukkham sambhavati sabbam ārambha pacchaya ārambhanam nirodhena nati dukkhassa sambhavo. So the topic, the idea is the same. Whatever dukkha, whatever suffering arise in the world, everything based on Ārambha. In this case, it's Ārambha. Let us keep it for now as Pali word. Later I'll explain. And who realize the cessation of this Ārambha, for him there is no dukkha anymore. There is no suffering. So what is Ārambha? Yeah, good question. So it has many meanings. One meaning is violence, like some aggressiveness, violence. And from this respect, it's very obvious. Whatever dukkha, suffering arise from the world, in the world, it's have a based in violence. I think it's very understandable, and it's possible to practice, be absent of any violence. But it have a second meaning, and I think here more applies this one, like undertaking or beginning or starting, attempting something. There is Ārambha virya, so person who start his effort. So this kind of attemption or initial intention, something what it's step before the intention. So, and the Buddha says that whatever dukkha arises, it's based on this initial intention. So, what it means? Because we see that, like Buddha, in his life, we see in the sutta, and other arahants, they preach the Dhamma, they do something for Sangha, they establish Vinaya rules and so on. So there was initial intention of activity, of any mental state and so on. But if the Buddha speak that it's a base of dukkha, it means he don't have this anymore. He don't suffer from this. He's fully enlightenment. And like two things, how we may attempt this. One thing, just to understand that the Buddha, like all this kind of initial intention or application of the mind, in our ordinary mind, it just come and we follow it usually. So whatever come, and maybe we don't go to action. At least we like or dislike. Whatever desire come, like I sit, I think, it's a little bit hard to sit, I need to stand. So I may continue sitting, but this kind of initial desire, initial push, mind push me, okay, you need to stand. I may like it or dislike, so I react on it. I'm not kind of equanimous to it. So I think enlightened person, the Buddha and Arahants, they have this initial intention or whatever, but they don't react on it. So they kind of full control of their mind. And again, to see this, it requires peaceful, very peaceful and stable mind, because when you stay in equanimity, in the state free from any hindrances, you may see that whenever this kind of initial intention or whatever arises, it's a dukkha, it's a suffering. It's not that peaceful state of mind where you stay before. Because before you stay just very calm and very settled. And now something pull you, change the body, or like change the posture of the body, or scratch the mosquito come or whatever. So it's suffering. It's not pleasant, this kind of desire. Yes, and the next one is very, very similar. It's ingita. The word is, the schema is the same, just different word, ingita. So word ingita means movement or any kind of agitation of mind or movement. As I understand it, the difference between the two is that Ārambha, like initial intention, it have a lot of ingita inside. So ingita, it's a small movement of the mind. So mind just a little bit move. It's not even desire. It's not something form, something what we can recognize, but it's just some movement of the mind, some like image or picture or some like half of the thoughts, like very, very small things. And again, Buddha says that like whatever suffering arises, it's all arises based on this. And the person who control of this, who can settle this, who don't follow this, he can be free from suffering, free from anything. So again, the topic of this contemplation is to develop nibbana, to develop disenchantment. So to see it in your mind, whatever ingita or ārambha, how you can understand it and how you're able to settle your mind to see it, it's up to individual. But the goal to develop disenchantment, like to see that, because everything what we do, everything what like speak, listen, or like give dana, whatever, it's all this ingita and ārambha. It's all this initial application of mind, all movement of the mind. So very rare we actually calm this state, like when we really in deep meditation, luckily. So, yeah, try to see it. And the next one, nisitam chalitam, Pali word. And we can translate it as for whoever there is a base or any kind of, if I attach to anything, if I have a ground, if I have a base, for me, it's a chalita. For me, it's a shaking of the mind. Like the simile is given, like when the leaf come to the water, and this kind of ripples come around. So this is small ripples on the water. So in the same way we can see in the mind. It's very similar what we discussed before, this ingita, but a little bit different aspect. But here more emphasis on dependency. So the person who is dependent on anything, for him there is this movement of the mind. And the simile also may be given like I sit on the chair, yeah, I depend on the chair. Like I sit comfortably, I may meditate, I may be calm. But if something happening with this chair, like the leg will be broken or something like this, I become like moved, like ingita happening with me, some movement. So because I depend on this chair. But if I would not depend on anything, again, it's quite high state, then there is no movement, there is no suffering. And the Buddha give like explanation here. Again, like the person who is dependent, for him there is a movement. For a person who is not dependent, for him there is no movement of the mind. And if there is no movement of the mind, it's possible to have passaddhi. It's possible to have like tranquility, like peace of the mind. And for a person who have passaddhi, there is no nati. Nati is inclination or tendency. So if a person completely calm, like really calm, for him no any tendency can follow him, like because we may sometimes have this like temporary freedom from hindrances, like okay, I see now no hatred, no desire, everything okay, but then something arises, some object I start to desire for this or averse towards it. So it means I have underlying tendency of this craving or aversion. I not overcome this. But here the sutta speak about state where a person can completely overcome this tendency. This tendency doesn't really shake him anymore. And lastly, what if the person overcomes this all underlying tendency, he don't come to this existence anymore, because only this tendency guide us to this existence. Like we come again and again because we actually want to like enjoy sensual pleasure or whatever. But if no underlying tendency, what we can do here? Yeah? There's nothing to do here. The job is done, as Sutta always say. And like again, it's quite high state, and to understand it practically, we need to be dependent. So we need to be dependent on the teaching, on the Kalyana on the good people around, on the practice, on the like all other conditions, do good, do punya, don't do bad. We don't need to dependency up to some state where we understand, okay, every dependency is a dukkha. If I attach to anything, it just cannot, I cannot settle my mind completely if I attach on anything. So again, like what I said at the beginning, it's good to see the direction, yeah, where we go. And the last things in this contemplation, they call it arupa contemplation, like immaterial, formless. And the statement, rupehi arupa santaratati. So whatever have a form, it's more gross than whatever don't have a form. So in another word, subtleness or immateriality much more peaceful, much more stable or much more calm than form, than everything would have a material form. So if you agree with this, Buddha give a second statement, arupehi nirodho santarantaro. So, and same way as a form more gross than formless, same way nirodha much more subtle than formless. So if you agree with first, the second is if we believe Buddha, we we need to accept it, no? Or at least try to see it. So I think it's very specific instruction what given for one thing, for people who develop formless attainment. You know, in sutta there is a arupa state, like a deep meditation state when you don't feel the body, you don't experience any body. So, and they may attach to this state, and they may think, okay, this is the top, this is like ultimate goal, there's nothing higher. So Buddha says that there is something higher. There's complete cessation, complete stopping, complete nirodha. It's much higher. And for another, for more more understandable way, that sometimes we do something with aspiration to be reborn in the subtle material world. Like I do dana, I want to become a deva next life, you know. I follow sila, I want to become in two-seater heaven. So yes, Buddha say it's true. Two-seater heaven, much more subtle, much more stable than this material world. But in the same way, compare this material world with two-seater heaven, the complete cessation, complete nibbana, much more higher than two-seater heaven. So something higher. The Buddha doesn't say us, don't do good, don't be reborn as a devil or whatever. He just say that there is something higher. And we just need to know and kind of remember about this and know where our goal. It's good to have direction. Or just be honest with yourself, I want to be reborn as a deva and this is my goal. So just clearly have understanding. In this case, deep practice or deep meditation, not necessary to do for a person. If a person just want to be reborn as a deva, just follow sila, do dana. But Buddha in the Gata say that whoever have a form or whoever have a subtle material form and don't understand the cessation and nirodha, they come again and again in this existence. So we see a lot when Buddha speaks with some Brahmas in the sutta. When Brahma attains the highest in his immateriality and he starts to think, okay, this is it. I realize everything. There's nothing higher. And like this, I would remind forever and ever, always, eternity. And Buddha speaks with, come to this Brahma and speak it's still it's eons and eons, very long time, but sometimes it's finished, it's end, and you come again to sensual world, or maybe even lower, depend on your karma. So if you don't want to depend on your karma, if you want to overcome the death completely, the nibbana and cessation, this is your goal, this is the way. So, yeah, to recap it, it's good to settle our mind, be able to develop sharpness of the mind, and try to see any movement of the mind, any kind of initial intention, how it generates dukkha, how it generates any suffering, and how any dependency can lead to suffering as well. So we may see it in our mind, at least try to attempt, and also just to reflect, what is our goal? Our goal is to be in immaterial world, or our goal is much more higher. So wish you to have proper determination and be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.